What we've seen over the past 24 hours is an absolutely extraordinary development. There was this drum roll to the deadline, in fact, the shortened deadline that President Trump had clearly and publicly declared for Russia to agree a ceasefire. And as that deadline approached, his language became very specific and really unprecedentedly threatening towards Russia. These things called secondary tariffs, sanctions, very deprecating remarks about the Russian economy. And what have we seen? An astonishing U-turn, it would seem. The most emphatic retreat from a Trumpian deadline. Rather than impose any of the pain, make good on any of his threats, he appears to have rewarded Putin in this extraordinary way by agreeing to a summit. It'd be very interesting to know who proposed Alaska. The symbology of it is clear, and it's easy to imagine Putin making the point, the argument, the sort of the framing point to Trump that, look, we once had this territory and we gave it to you. Therefore, Ukraine had this territory and now should give it to us. So tactically, the location of the summit would seem to be something that naturally favors Russia, as well as the form, as well as it being bilateral. But it does seem at this point that in an astonishingly rapid and emphatic way, that Trump's current Russian policy has flipped back to some version of what it was when he returned to office in January. It's as if his slow, apparent disillusionment with Putin, his growing awareness that it's Putin, not Zelensky, who's the obstacle to peace, as if none of that had happened. And there have been so many extraordinary twists and turns in this so far. All that's clear at this point is that Putin has already achieved the major victory of securing a summit meeting with the United States on American soil. And that's something that he will be working very hard to make the maximum use of in the coming week. One further question is, where is Europe in all of this? Europe must be alarmed and, in fact, appalled by this latest turn of events.
This one, just the fact that it's been taking place in Alaska, which is very unusual, just shows the abnormality of the situation, right? It's something that we have not seen before. You know, summits have taken place before between, let's say, the Soviet Union, Moscow, or the United States, places like Reykjavik, for example. Or last time, of course, Trump and Putin met, that was in Helsinki. But things have changed, things have moved on. So from Russia's perspective, they don't like the Europeans. And I think having a summit somewhere far away from Europe, excluding Europe, is a way for Putin to say, look, Europe doesn't matter. We have our own relationship with the United States. We're actually neighbors. And, take it or leave it. We'll just talk about our things, which, by the way, includes Ukraine, and you're not included here. And so that's a message to the Europeans more than anything else. Russia desires nothing as much as a recognition of its greatness by the United States. You know, the United States is the main recognizer. They can give that to Russia, this sort of legitimacy that comes from being seen, being recognized, etc. So for Russia, this symbolic significance is massive, which is why you have to wonder why President Trump is giving that to Putin. That is something that Putin craves, absolutely craves. There's no question about it. What is he going to get in return for this? Is Putin going to agree to actually end the war in Ukraine? If so, on what kind of terms? Well, I think if nothing comes from it, that's also okay from Putin's perspective. It's going to be sort of humiliating for Trump. if nothing comes out of this, because he will have given all that face to Putin, he will have given all that recognition to Putin, and then got nothing out of this. Well, that's a slap in the face. So that's not going to be looking good for Trump at all. For Putin, he will look great. He will say, look, I'm being wined and dined here in America. And of course, remember that 2 weeks later, so the summit is on August 15th, but then 2 weeks later, he's going to China because there's an SCO meeting there. There's a Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So you'll be meeting with Xi Jinping, having already done his rounds with President Trump, and that puts him in a better position. So he stands to win no matter what happens. I mean, it's an incentive, clearly, and Russia wants to have a reasonable relationship with the United States for all kinds of reasons, economic reasons. I mean, remember that Putin wants sanctions lifted, and the United States, if it lifted sanctions on Russia, that would be a major thing, because it will be so much more difficult than to sustain the European sanctions regime without the Americans buying into this, right? That's right. And he's made his admiration for Putin quite clear on numerous occasions, his admiration for Russia quite clear in numerous occasions as well. And of course, there's a particular school of thought within the Trump administration, though it's not 100% clear whether Trump actually has signed up to this. And this is to kind of use Russia as a counterweight against China, which is a strategy that is unlikely to work in my view. But nevertheless, they're pursuing this particular strategy as well, I think.
偷偷告诉大家，我最近发现了新法宝 Royal Face 逆时奇迹系列，它有活肤露、全效精华，还有精华霜。尤其我皮肤比较偏干，所以我非常的注重保湿。保湿做得好，肌肤自然丰润。提亮肤色更年轻，抚平皱纹超有感，而且气色变好。用心保养，每天都更美一点。美吧。